Hey guys, we're back with another World of Tanks miniatures video. This time we're on Wave 5 and we got ourselves the Russian ISU-152, which is a big old tank destroyer. Can't wait to get in there and check that one out. As always with these, if you see stickers on the front of them, means inside in the little booklet there's going to be a code in there that you can redeem for some free stuff in the online game if you play it. There's stuff in there for if you have a new account, and there's stuff in there if you have an existing account. So if you play the online game, definitely check those out. And we're going to get right in and take a look at this. So first off, we have the insert here, and of course on the back it tells you everything that comes in the pack. On the inside is the instructions on how to redeem the code, and of course the code is on the card down here. We have our vehicle card here. You can see here the ISU-152. It's an assault gun, has the big gun and the fortress abilities. It's a tier 8 tank destroyer, 57 points, firepower of 5, which is pretty respectable, survivability of 2, mobility of 2, and initiative of 2, which is kind of low, but you expect that with a big heavy vehicle like this. You have 5 crewmen on here. You have a commander and radio operator, gunner, driver, loader, and a second loader. And over here we have 7 hit points, which is pretty high, but it's also kind of low for something you'd think would be this big of a vehicle. Maybe that's why the points are a little lower than I expected. But on the back here, we have our special rules for the assault gun. Tank has a restricted line of sight. As fixed fire, basically it's because the gun only shoots directly forward. We'll get to that when I get the vehicle, or get the actual model out. Then we have the big gun ability. When attacking, you can modify a normal hit into a crit. Definitely nice. Comes with I think everything over 100 millimeters or so, maybe 150. And then there's a couple that have that ability. And then we have the fortress ability. When this tank is the target of a side shot, do not subtract an defense die. So basically, if you're getting shot from the same, counts as the same armor as if you're getting shot from the front. So very nice there. Pretty well fortified vehicle. And then up here we have our tank destroyer ability. This tank gains a +1 survivability while in cover. So it pays to be hull down or in some kind of cover in order to get a bonus on top of your normal armor. And then down here in the bottom we have the history of the tank and when it was used. Pretty nice vehicle. I've always been a fan of these in the actual video game because they're just a big, heavy, basically a gun with tracks on it, and I like that about them. So under our upgrades, first one we have here is a 122mm gun for 9 points. It's Russian only, can only be used on the ISU-152. It gives you +1 attack. Basically, you're swapping out the stock gun on there for the 122, getting that +1 attack. Pretty nice 1 attack for 9 points though. Kind of expensive, but could be right. You're still getting all the other bonus abilities on there too, so having that extra die could probably help you out. I wouldn't go against it if you have the points available. Definitely worth trying. Next up we have the Lend-Lease Oil, which is a consumable upgrade. 1 point, Russian only. Discarded on use, it gives you +2 initiative during the movement phase. I'm not a huge fan of things that are in one use and discarded afterward, but for only a single point, you really can't knock it. That +2 movement, or +2 initiative on the movement phase could be helpful in the right situation, and if you got an extra point laying around, why not? I think we've seen that one a few times on a few previous upgrades. Next we have our crew cards. Starting off here with Situational Awareness, which is a basic radio operator for 5 points, and it gives you +2 initiative. Definitely something you want to look into, especially with only having a 2 on here to start with. 5 points is kind of steep, but +2 initiative on the right vehicle. If you put this on something that already has a high initiative, it could definitely bump it way up there. And you get something that allows you to share your initiative with another vehicle, and you're off and rolling. Next up we have Eagle Eye, which is a basic commander for 5 points. When shooting, this tank may roll 1 less attack die, then modify a hit into a crit. This goes on top of the special rule that you're already getting for the tank itself. So basically, you would allow you to modify 2 of the hits into crits if you have this equipped, at least on this specific tank. But you're rolling one less attack die, so there is a trade-off on there. Definitely an interesting option, though, something I'll be trying out and seeing how that works for me. And then finally, we have Makar Ushikov, I think. It's a Russian only, 4 points. He's a driver. He has clutch braking. At the end of the movement phase, you can rotate this tank to face any direction. This does not generate an additional movement token. That's nice. And then repair. This tank can attempt to make an additional critical, or attempt to repair an additional critical each turn. For 4 points, I think those two are a just awesome combo. It's probably one of the most affordable named crewmen I've seen. Definitely worth taking, and really nice on a bigger, heavier tank like this as well, because you get that extra rotation in there. So you can move your tank to where it needs to be, and then pivot it just a little bit to make sure you have that gun lined up because of the assault gun rule, which we'll get to here in a minute. And then finally we have our model here. And I actually like this one. They did a good job on it. I had some complaints about some of them, but this one's put together probably better than I could do. The only complaint I really have is that the gun has absolutely no movement at all. It does have the assault gun roll, but usually they have a little bit of play in them, so you can angle them a little bit. But nope, this one's completely glued and fixed forward. And it always bugged me on the Russian tanks that sometimes they put the 2 fuel tanks, 1 fuel tank. I'm not sure why. I'm sure there was a reason for it, and I'm sure some of the real tanks actually did that. But I think the KV, I think, has that on it as well. So with the assault gun rule on the tank destroyers, basically you're going to put your tank down. And when you figure out your fuel to fire, normally a tank with a turret has a 360-degree arc. The assault tanks have a basically 180 to the front arc, where they shoot anything across this line forward of the tank is in front of them. If anything is off to the side and across this line, then they can't shoot at it at all, unless part of it is in, there's a column basically that you draw directly in front of it here, this corridor in front of it. If anything's past the horizontal line that goes across the front here, it has to be within that vertical line going straight out, or you can't shoot at it. It's kind of a weird thing to do, because you could shoot a tank over here, but you might not be able to shoot a tank that's like right here. It's odd, but it's the way they did their tank destroyer rules, and it takes some getting used to, but once you get the hang of it, it's not that bad. And that's a look at everything that comes with the ISU-152 from Wave 5 here, World of Tanks Miniatures game. Overall, it's a pretty beastly tank. I think the Russians have a couple large heavy tanks right now. This one's not a heavy, it's a tank destroyer, but you know what I mean. It is a big gun with wheels, which is pretty much what the Russians were known for, and I like it. It has a lot of potential. It's not as expensive as I would have thought for points-wise. It's still up there at 57 points. However, the amount of firepower you can shell out of this is well worth it, I think. The trade-off here is definitely going to be this 2 initiative. That's going to kill you. You're going to need things like the situational awareness radio operator or other upgrades on other tanks in your platoon in order to boost that number up. Otherwise, you're constantly going to be moving first, shooting last. People are going to be able to see where you're positioned and then counter that, move around out of your fire arc or into a place that's just not working for your plans. So 2 is exceptionally poor. You want that at least at a 5, maybe a 6. Hopefully you can bring that up through, like I said, crew upgrades or other upgrades in your platoon as a whole. I know there's one, I think it's a radio operator that allows you to use a certain vehicle's initiative on another vehicle. So you put that on a smaller, lighter, faster vehicle. You use that higher initiative on a vehicle like this to get the most out of it. Other than that, though, it's a pretty well-rounded tank. Again, 7 hit points is good. The doubled up commander radio operator, I think, is going to be your downside to it, because you're going to have to choose, like in this case, do you want the commander? Do you want the radio operator? You can only have one of these on there. And being that you really want that +2 initiative, it kind of eliminates this, but this is such a good card. So that's really its drawback. Again, if you can find a way to bump this initiative up through a different tank in your platoon, then you can concentrate on things like this for your commander and get those bonuses that way. So it's all going to be in how you build, but overall, it's a nice vehicle. I like it, and it's going to be able to soak up a lot of hits too, especially with that fortress ability. Get this thing hunkered down in some cover somewhere, so it's getting the tank destroyer ability, it's got the fortress ability, and make use of that big gun and really basically lay down some support fire for the rest of your platoon to get where they need to go and do what they need to do. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for our look at the Soviet ISU-152 from Gale Force 9's World of Tanks Miniatures game, Wave 5. As always, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.